She came to sell a house. She stayed to find love, a family, and a place where her heart could finally rest. Olivia, a young real estate agent, takes what seems like a simple listing, a quiet old house by the lake. Its owner, James, a man fresh from divorce, plans to sell and move on. But the house remembers more than either of them expects. Between morning fog on the water, dust-filled rooms, and a silence that slowly turns gentle, love begins to grow. The house becomes a studio, a wedding, children's laughter, and a new beginning. This is a story about how sometimes we arrive to close a deal, and stay to build a life.
Love Stories Max. Welcome to my channel. Enjoy watching, friends.
This is where forever begins. My name is Olivia. I'm a young real estate agent with perpetually cold coffee, a notebook always buried somewhere in my bag, and a habit of seeing houses not as square footage, but as people. Because every house has a personality. Some are quiet, some are too loud, and some are waiting. James's house was waiting. I remember the first day I drove up there. The gravel crunched under my tires as if it were warning me, "Be careful." The house stood a little away from the road, old, but not tired. Dark wood, wide windows that didn't look out into the world, but straight into you. And in the backyard, there was a lake. Small, still, the kind where morning fog settles over the water like someone gently tucking it in with a blanket. James was already there, tall, a little lost, keys in his hand, turning them over and over like he wasn't sure he wanted to give them to anyone. "I don't know where to start," he said instead of hello. With the house, I smiled. "They like it when you start with them." He smiled back, careful, brief. The smile of a man fresh out of a divorce, still unsure who he was allowed to be now. The house had been left to him by his aunt. No one had lived there for years. Dust lay evenly, like snow. In the kitchen, old floral curtains still hung in the window. In the living room, a fireplace where the last fire had probably burned before someone stopped being happy. "I don't plan to live here," James said as we stepped into the bedroom overlooking the lake. "Houses hear everything," I replied. "Be careful saying things like that." He laughed, really laughed, and I swear, the house did too. We started working together. I arrived in the mornings with selling strategies and left in the evenings with stories about who each room could be. James brought coffee, at first from a cafe, later brewed right there in that kitchen. He forgot meetings, but remembered how I liked cinnamon. I pretended not to notice how long he stared at the lake when he thought I was busy with paperwork. Once, we were cleaning out the attic. I sneezed from the dust. He handed me a handkerchief and said, "You know, I never thought a divorce could lead to something bright. Sometimes you have to lose something to make room," I answered, not looking at him. Because if I had, I wouldn't have been able to hide. In the evenings, we sat by the lake. He skipped stones across the water. I counted the ripples. We talked about small things. My first house showings. His fear of making the same mistake again. How strange silence sounds when it no longer scares you. The first touch happened by accident. My hand, his hand, and neither of us pulled away. The lake was calm. The house was quiet. And suddenly I knew. This house was no longer for sale. Even if we hadn't said it out loud yet. "Olivia," he started softly. "I know," I interrupted. "Let's not rush. The house isn't ready to let us go." He kissed me later, hesitantly, as if asking permission not just from me, but from the walls, the fireplace, the lake beyond the window. We never finished the sale. The listing came down. James stayed, and I began coming not as a realtor, but as a woman who knew where the morning light fell best and which step on the stairs creaked. Now we live here, in a house that survived loneliness and learned how to wait. The curtains are back in the kitchen. There's fire in the fireplace. And every morning, the lake in the backyard reflects the two of us, slightly tired, deeply happy, and ready to build a new family. Sometimes I think, I came here to sell a house. And instead, I found a home. I knew it would be our wedding the moment James placed a chair right by the lake and said, "The light is always right here." No grand speeches. No excess. The house knew. The lake knew. And so did I. We got married in the backyard, where the morning fog lingered longer than usual, as if it wanted to stay with us. I wore a simple dress. James wore a shirt with the sleeves rolled up. His hands always looked like they had just created something, or were about to. When he said, "I do," I thought, this is what peace sounds like. After the wedding, the house changed. No, it bloomed. The old storage room became a studio. James became a sculptor not because he suddenly decided to be one, but because he was no longer afraid to listen to himself. He works with clay and stone. He says every form already exists inside the material. He just helps it come out. I love watching him from a distance. The way he can stand in silence for hours, his fingers covered in dust. The way he steps back, narrows his eyes, and smiles, very softly. His first major piece is a woman looking toward the water. I never asked who she was. We both know. Then footsteps appeared in the house. First, just one set, small and uncertain. We named our son Lucas. He inherited his father's seriousness and my habit of talking to the house. Lucas loves sitting by the lake, skipping stones just like James once did. Sometimes I swear the house listens to him more carefully than it ever listened to us. 2 years later, Emma arrived. She laughs loudly, touches everything she sees, and is endlessly drawn to the clay in the studio. James says it's dangerous. I say it's destiny. Our mornings now are crumbs on the table, cold coffee, still, and someone's missing socks. Our evenings are the fireplace, books, children's voices, and James's hands resting on my shoulders when I think he's tired, but he's really just choosing to be close. Sometimes we all walk down to the lake together. James holds Emma in his arms. Lucas searches for the perfect stone. I look at the house. I once came here to sell it. Now I know. Some houses are never meant to be sold. They wait until love arrives, and then they keep it forever. Emma's 5th birthday began with balloons escaping toward the ceiling and the smell of vanilla settling into the house as if it had decided to stay forever. Emma woke up before everyone else, wearing a paper crown we'd made the night before. She ran into our bedroom barefoot and announced proudly, "I'm 5 today. I'm big now." James put on his most serious face and replied, "Then the cake will be very grown up." Emma laughed so loudly that even the lake outside the window seemed to ripple. The house was alive. Ribbons in the kitchen. Gifts in the living room wrapped in pink paper. Too pink. I noticed it later, when Lucas sat a little apart. He was already almost grown, 7 years old, with his own sense of order and quiet disappointments. He watched Emma open dresses, dolls, sparkly boxes, and his shoulders slowly sank. I sat beside him. "You okay?" "It's just, none of this is for me," he whispered. And right then, James appeared in the doorway of the studio. He didn't say a word, just winked at me, the way he always does when he knows he's doing the right thing. He walked over to Lucas and placed a small box in front of him, wrapped in simple gray paper. "I always keep one gift in reserve," he said, "just in case someone needs to feel seen." Inside was a small wooden boat. James had carved it himself. And a smooth stone from the lake, polished until it shone. "For journeys," he added. "Even if they're only imaginary for now." Lucas didn't smile right away. He just pressed the boat to his chest. Then he hugged his father so tightly James had to bend a little. Emma saw everything. She walked over and placed her crown on Lucas's head. "You're the captain today," she said. "You can run the party." Later, we blew out the candles. The cake was too big. Hands were covered in frosting. Laughter was everywhere. The lake reflected the string lights, and the house held it all like its most precious memory. That night, after the kids were asleep, I said to James, "You always know." He shrugged. "I just remember what it feels like to be a child who was almost missed." I looked at the house, at the lake, at the light in the windows. And I thought, this is what love looks like, quiet, attentive, and always with an extra gift just in case. I often think that true happiness doesn't have a loud voice. It sounds like a house in the morning. Our home wakes slowly. First, the lake. Its surface barely moves, as if checking to see if everyone is still here. Then the floorboards, the soft creak of a step I stopped noticing long ago. Then children's footsteps. And only after that, us. Lucas is taller now than I remember. He speaks less, but sees more. He helps James in the studio, quietly, respectfully. Sometimes I watch him touch the stone as if he's listening. I know that gesture. I once fell in love with it. Emma still laughs first. She's growing faster than we can keep up with. Dirty knees, clay under her fingernails, a heart that's never afraid to stay open. The house loves her. So does the lake. James is known now. His sculptures stand in bright spaces where people lower their voices. But to me, he's still the same. Dust on his hands, that focused look, and a habit of stopping in the middle of the day just to stare out the window. His best pieces are the ones he never sells. They stand in the garden, by the water, in quiet corners of the house. Shapes of love, shapes of silence, shapes of things words can't hold. And me, I don't sell houses anymore. I help people find places where they can breathe. And every time I hold a set of keys, I remember the first ones, the ones that led me here. Sometimes we all sit on the porch. James holds my hand. Lucas watches the water. Emma draws something in the dirt with a stick. We're quiet, and the quiet is full. I know now, without doubt, love is not a moment. It's a choice to stay. It's attention. It's a house that is no longer lonely. I came here thinking I was selling walls. I stayed to build a life. And if one day someone asks me where I found my heart, I'll answer. In a house by the lake that taught me how to love, slowly, and forever.